So the final cipher inside Classified has been solved, and it was actually solved a couple of days ago, but it actually flew under my radar until last night when I saw a Rad Austin video talking about it. And after watching his video and actually hearing the cipher, I was just blown away for two different reasons. One was for the cipher itself, because what this cipher actually has inside of it has something that could really change our, I guess, not understanding of the storyline, but how we see the storyline and how we understand how it all started and maybe where it could be going inside Black Ops 4. And I'm not even joking when I'm saying how big of effect this cipher could have on the storyline. But the other thing that blew me away with watching his video and multiple other videos, if that's proper grammar, but regardless, after watching all these videos, nobody is talking about this fact. I mean, they mention one thing that is really crazy, but not the implications. I mean, they'll mention what is going on and why it's strange or what is crazy about it, but they won't talk about the implications, and that is what I find very, very strange, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about inside this video. But before I could do any of that, I want to first read off the cipher in its entirety from the start to the end, and then after I do that, I'll talk about exactly what I mean and why I'm talking in these terms like huge, crazy implications, all that stuff. But regardless, I'll read it for you guys right now. August 8th, 1947. I've been logging materials acquired from Group 935 for some days now. Major Swayer has asked me to evaluate files pertaining to the undead experimentation, and this afternoon I happened upon an old friend. Hidden deep away in storage was Dr. Maxis's original matter transference prototype. Apparently, it was one of the items the Americans acquired when splitting Group 935's resources with the Russians. Unsurprisingly, it's in a terrible state of despair. Missing pieces, badly damaged, completely non-operational. To be fair, Maxis himself stopped using it after the failure of those initial tests in 1939. While useless in its current state, it will provide a great reference when we begin teleporter development at this facility. One thing I'd never noticed before, scratching into the bottom of the machine was a message. For M, who started me on this journey. It struck me as odd. I can't recall anyone at Group 935 who went by that initials. I haven't the faintest idea who Maxis could have been referring to. Shootster. Now, I didn't actually realize how long this cipher was until I just read it all the way through right now. It's actually a full page long. That is a long cipher. I guess that's what we're doing inside Black Ops 4 now. But regardless, what I actually want to draw your attention to is at the very end of this cipher. And I want to reread it just for everyone can understand exactly what I'm talking about here. So where it actually says, or where Shootster says, one thing I've never noticed before, scratched into the bottom of the machine, was a message for M, who started me on this journey. It struck me as odd. I can't recall anyone at Group 935 who went by that initial. And that part right there alone is just crazy to say the very least. But I first have to do some explaining for who M is and the initials for M. And I know I'm going to say this ridiculous way, and I know there's better ways to go about and explain who M is, but I just like to pay attention to the smallest piece of detail that I've loved ever since Black Ops 3 but never got to talk about. But regardless, inside Black Ops 3 we actually learned that M was Dr. Monty, and of course the main way we actually found out about this was actually the letter that was sent to the reporter who was working for Dr. Rapt, where he read the letter from Dr. Monty and he went crazy and tried to kill Richtofen, tried to stop him from getting the summoning key, but Richtofen instead killed him and took the summoning key, or actually he didn't take it, the Keepers did, and then he stole it from the Keepers. Actually, I didn't realize how crazy that whole situation was, but regardless, from that and many other instances, especially inside a cipher from Revelation itself from, what's his name, Dempsey, we did learn that M was for Monty, but the small piece of detail I do want to focus on is why Dr. Monty's initial is M and nothing else, because as we all know how initials work, it's your the first letter of your first name and the first letter of your last name. That's how initials mainly work for the most part, but Dr. Monty doesn't have a last name, so his initial would only be M, and this is just a small piece of detail I want to draw your attention to, because because it's just so cool. Just think about the small things that you have to think of, why Monty's initials is just M, unlike everyone else's initials, and why it is an initial, not something else. And I do find that as a really cool small detail that Treyarch were actually paying attention to, that is just really cool. And another small detail I want to point out that is just really cool, and this is, again, we're getting off track, I do apologize, but I just like pointing out these small details. But this message right here that is for M, who started me on this journey, it's actually imprinted on one of the teleporters outside of the map of 5. And why I find this is really cool is because we know that that teleporter is actually a Maxis teleporter and not a Richtofen teleporter, because Richtofen actually is the one who perfected the teleporting technology before Maxis, and then Maxis tried working on before, but he didn't perfect it. So this actually explains why in the storyline, why the Russians were able to perfect their teleporting technology before the Americans, because the Americans got Maxis's teleportation technology and the Russians probably got Richtofen. So this actually explains why that's the case and why the Russians were able to build teleporters before the Americans. It's just another small detail that I absolutely love. It's just so cool seeing all this stuff. But anyways, now to the main part of this video, because this is where it gets cool, because where we actually read M, who has sent me on this journey, or started me on this journey, we do know that this is Monty, and the person who wrote it was the original timeline Maxis. So the huge breaking detail thing, the huge breaking news thing, I should say, is that Monty actually contacted the original world Maxis. That is crazy on its own, but the implications of this is absolutely crazy, because what did Monty have him do? He had him work on a teleporter. He had him write this on the teleporter itself. So we do know, or it seems at least that it's intended for us to understand it in this way, that Monty had Dr. Maxis work on a teleporter. And this makes no sense at all, because if you guys remember, Dr. Monty, he was complaining about in Revelations, in multiple instances, not even just Revelations, also in Gorod Krovi and in a couple of ciphers, I believe, but regardless, he kept complaining that the reason the universe is so messed up is because of Group 935 teleporting and using element 115. And then all of a sudden we get this cipher in Classified saying that he was the reason why they were trying to teleport in the first place. Maybe it's not his fault that they had the 115, and we're actually not sure if it's his fault or not, because I'll actually try to touch on that later in the video. But regardless, even if it's not his fault that the 115 was in Group 935's hands, why did he have them actually use the element 115 to create teleporters, or at least attempt to create teleporters, if he didn't like that? And if you guys don't believe me, I'll just play you two different whatever they call it, quotes from Dr. Monty just in Revelations. We're not even talking about the ciphers or Gorod Krovi. This is just 2 times he complained about this exact same thing inside Black Ops 3.
In the beginning, and believe me, there was a beginning, everything was in its proper place. Time was linear, just as it should be. But a little thing called element 115 changed all that. Especially when, what was it again? Oh, yes, when Group 935 came along. Once they started messing around with it, they buggered everything up. 115 shouldn't even exist in your dimension. But nonetheless, here we are. Bloody teleporters. The minute you people teleported for the first time, you changed the rules. How am I supposed to keep track if you keep moving the pieces?
So as you guys heard right there, that is Dr. Monty himself saying that he doesn't like teleporting and the pieces moving all over the place and all that stuff, even though he's the one who encouraged Dr. Maxis to create them originally. Wait, what? And this is just one of the many cases of Dr. Monty saying one thing and doing the exact opposite. This is nothing new. Of course, we do know that Dr. Monty is full of it, to say the very least, because he's told us so many lies, it's actually ridiculous now. But regardless, this is just another one of those examples where we have Dr. Monty saying one thing and doing the exact opposites. But what this actually means is that Dr. Monty has been affecting the storyline ever since sense he talked to Dr. Maxis to make the teleporter in 1939, and this is before any maps actually took place. I believe that's true, but don't take me on that word for 100%. So this is before any of that. So what I'm saying is that Dr. Monty started everything that happened in the storyline from the very start to the very end, because we always knew that Dr. Monty was involved in the storyline, but it always felt like, and what at least Dr. Monty told us, is that he stepped in midway through while everything was going on, because he saw what Group 935 were doing. They were breaking the universe, shattering the universe. Remember, he's the one who said that Group 935 and Richtofen did it, right? He's the one who said that, even though it's not the case, because he didn't insert himself to go help, fix everything up. He wasn't in there. His plan was to do this from the very start, because he's the one who caused everything to happen to begin with. He wanted them to create teleporters. He wanted them to destroy the universe and make it a cycle. Obviously, we know he's the reason why the cycle exists in the first place, because he's the one who sends our premise characters all the way back to the Great War. So we do know that he is 100% the one who is at fault for the cycle, but we didn't know that he was the fault for everything happening at all, because we always thought that he stepped in to go try to fix everything and fix the mistakes of Group 935 created and all that stuff, and that's just not the case, because he is at fault for absolutely everything in the storyline. And I find this quite fascinating, and this isn't actually where it ends, because there's a couple other things, and these things may not be nearly as solid, but I also want to bring them up, because we do know, or at least how it sounds, and of course I should have mentioned this earlier, come to think of it, that we don't know for certain if this was original timeline Rick or Maxis who actually wrote this, but I mean, it is highly, I mean, it seems like, I mean, they wrote it in a way that this is how it should be interpreted, so if it's not this way, then it's their fault. But regardless, if this is the case, and one thing that really struck me is that if this is the case, and Monty actually contacted original world timeline Maxis and he was talking to him, who's to say he didn't stop talking to him? What if Dr. Monty had explained everything to Dr. Maxis and he's the reason why he actually ended up destroying the Earth at Moon, and then after that destroying the entire world inside Buried? I mean, what if he's the reason why he did all that? Because Dr. Monty was talking to him, because we always knew that Samantha and of course Richtofen in the original timeline were corrupted by the Apothecans. Well, I guess we didn't always know that. We recently learned that, but regardless, we know that they are actually corrupted by the Apothecans, but we always just assumed that Maxis also got corrupted by the Apothecans. But I've always had a problem with that, because if they're all corrupted by the Apothecans, why are they fighting against each other? I mean, it made no sense to me, and I just always questioned it. But this could be the reason why, because Maxis was never corrupted by the Apothecans. Instead, he was corrupted by Dr. Monty, and that's the reason why he was fighting against Richtofen instead of joining his side inside Moon, because they were not corrupted by the same people and they were fighting against each other. And that's exactly why Moon even happened, why the Earth was destroyed, and then also why, of course, the entire original timeline is destroyed at the end of Buried. And this is just so crazy to think about. Everything that this cipher tells us is just crazy to think about, that Monty has been involved for so long and may have even been involved when we weren't even aware of it. And I just really like this, that it's just crazy to see. Honestly, I just love it so much. I haven't been excited for this storyline in a couple of weeks now, ever since really the Easter egg's been solved, but this cipher right here, it is just so cool, and I really like what this cipher is doing. Now, I gotta be quiet already, because I could end up talking all day about this, because it's just crazy to say the very least. It has some huge storyline implications, to say the very least. And if this isn't crazy, if you guys aren't excited, I honestly don't know what to tell you. But if you guys are, then you guys know to stay tuned to this channel and just subscribe, bell, share, and all that good stuff, because you know I'm going to be talking about a lot of the storyline now that we got this information. Because like I said, I mean, we never had really anything to excite us about the past and future of this Aether storyline, Black Ops 4. And now we finally got it with this cipher, and I just absolutely love it. But anyways, I said I was going to be quiet. I should just be quiet. But anyways, guys, I'm going to go, and I'll probably catch you guys in another video stream or whatever it may be. But laters, guys.